This episode of Inspire AI Podcast is sponsored by Exponent 21. I keep hearing the same thing from business leaders lately. We're doing the work, but leads are harder to explain. Traffic is down, attribution feels fuzzy, and the old answers don't really fit anymore. What's changed is how people search. Instead of clicking links, people are asking questions, and AI is answering them. Tools like ChatGPT, Google's AI-powered results, and Perplexity are shaping which brands get mentioned, referenced, and remembered. Exponent 21 specializes in AI SEO. They help businesses understand how to show up consistently inside those AI-generated answers across questions about their industry, their services, and their brand. What stands out to me is that when people ask AI tools, who's leading in this space? Exponent 21 and its leaders are often referenced near the top. That comes from doing the work and shaping how this new search environment actually functions. To understand what this shift means for your business, visit exponent21.com. Welcome back to Inspire AI, the podcast where we help leaders become calm, capable, and intentional in an AI-accelerated world. Today's episode is inspired by a bigger question I've been sitting with. What does the future of work really look like? Not just for engineers or founders, but for all of us. Not the headlines, not the hype cycles, but the lived reality of how our roles evolve when intelligence becomes ambient inside our tools. If you're a product leader, an engineering leader, an executive, or simply someone trying to understand where your leverage will come from in the next decade, this conversation is for you. Because the shift isn't just about AI getting better, it's about how our relationship to execution changes. Today we're going to explore what happens when product leaders step directly into the execution loop. Not by becoming engineers, not by replacing engineers, but by supervising intelligent coding agents like Claude Code, GPT, Codex. And through that lens, we'll unpack something deeper. How leadership evolves when intelligence becomes embedded inside the systems we use every day. So there's a shift that I don't think anybody's named very clearly. For the past decade, leaders were told, learn to speak engineering, understand the stack, build credibility through technical fluency. But what if the next wave isn't fluency? It's supervision. When you get your hands on an agentic coding environment, that means it doesn't just answer questions. It can read your repository, edit multiple files, run commands, execute tests, create pull requests, integrate with tickets, telemetry, and CI/CD pipelines. For builders, that's a structural change. You're no longer limited to writing intent in a document and waiting for translation. You can now express the feature, the constraints, the acceptance criteria, the verification requirements, and supervise an agent that performs much of the mechanical implementation. Engineers focus on architecture and correctness. Others can focus on intent, trade-offs, and outcomes. That's leverage. So I put some thoughts together about workflows that actually change. There's some higher leverage ones here that I like to speak about. Technical discovery. So thinking about, instead of waiting a week to understand where a change lives in the code base, a non-technical person can run, for instance, map where feature X would be implemented, identify modules, APIs, risks, and existing logs. Plan mode, read-only, low risk. Discovery time compresses. Strategy to executable spec. This is another workflow where the gap between strategic thinking and engineering ready artifacts has always been very fragile. With an agent that can read repo conventions, anyone can generate API contracts, edge case documentation, rollout plans, Observability requirements, acceptance tests, engineers review something concrete, not abstract. How about this one? Prototypes. Instead of waiting for weeks for feasibility validation, you can just say, create a feature flagged walking skeleton with stub background, minimal UI, telemetry hook, and a passing test. This way you thin slice it and create a reviewable PR. Your roadmap moves faster without sacrificing structure. Many experiments fail because instrumentation is incomplete. An agent can draft pre-analysis plans, implement feature flags, add logging, generate power calculation scripts, attach QA validation steps. This is where the loop tightens. Hypothesis, implementation, verification, measurement. How about stakeholder communication, where you have some release notes and no longer rely on narrative guesswork? The agent can inspect diffs and generate executive summaries, customer impact notes, metrics to watch, risk flags. Communication becomes artifact-backed. And then there's QA acceleration. By embedding verification requirements into prompts, such as do not declare success until tests pass and outputs are shown, you reduce looks correct failure modes. This is where verification becomes cultural, not optional. And how about those pesky, hard to train, hard to get in line CI/CD automations, scheduled jobs, issue to PR flows, triage automation, not magic, just structured leverage. And finally, there's roadmap hygiene. Think about it, where agents can pull historical tickets, link traceability, standardize acceptance criteria, rewrite unclear tasks. Roadmaps become living systems, not static lists. So here's an honest view on productivity. Research shows meaningful speed gains in well-scoped tasks, but enterprise studies also show perceived time savings can be modest. So what I mean the upside is real, but it's uneven. AI adoption is not a tool rollout. It's workflow redesign. If you measure surface activity, you'll miss the transformation. You should really think about measuring cycle time, change failure rate, experiment throughput, avoided defect, and review latency. This is where you can measure system impact. But with all of these great resources comes a new risk surface that leaders must own. 4 major risk categories emerge: hallucinations and silent failures, security and supply chain exposure, data retention and IP policy mismatch, skill and ownership drift. So that's where leadership matures. Not just can we use it, but how do we use it responsibly? So governance must be intentional. Managed permission scopes, sandboxing, allow listed integration, audit logging, and mandatory human PR review. Responsible leverage compounds trust. The real future of work. This isn't about everyone learning to code. It's about people learning to delegate to agents. If you can do that, then your leverage becomes clarity of intent, quality of constraints, definition of done, and verification rigor. You move from writing documents to designing execution loops, from handoffs to supervised pipelines, from ambiguity to structured outcomes. That's the real future of work evolution. Tools like Claude Code, Codex, Cursor, Windsurf, they're just examples of a broader pattern. Intelligence becoming ambient inside production system. The leaders who thrive won't be the ones chasing tools. They'll be the ones redesigning workflows, thoughtfully, measurably, and ethically. Because this isn't about replacing engineering judgment. It's about elevating leadership judgment. Until next time, stay curious, keep innovating, and build systems that help people lead with clarity in an AI-shaped future.